If you're a PlayStation fan, one of the biggest titles that you know for a fact is The Last of Us. It's probably one of the pillars that has made the PlayStation brand exactly what it is. In 2016, they finally announced the sequel to this fantastic game, The Last of Us Part 2. And for the past 4 years, we've been waiting for this game after delay, but now it's finally out. And to be honest with you guys, it felt kind of unreal that this game is out there, that you can go and play it. But here's my review on that game. But before we get on with the video, definitely hit that like button if you enjoyed it. You can always subscribe for weekly content, and you can always follow me on Twitter at LordAddictIOP. Without any further ado, here is my review on The Last of Us Part 2. One of the biggest highlights of the game is definitely the visuals. This game is by far, to me, in my opinion, is one of the best looking games, if not the best looking game on the PlayStation brand that Sony has ever made. The work that Naughty Dog has made here is absolutely breathtaking. They need a huge pat on the back. It's like I said, this is by far the prettiest game that Naughty Dog has ever made. It destroys Uncharted 4, it destroys the original Last of Us, it destroys Lost Legacy, it destroys all that stuff. And the reason that this game is so good is the lighting. The lighting feels like, a lot of people are confusing this with ray tracing, and to my knowledge, this isn't even ray tracing. So we have a little glimpse of what lighting could look like next gen, and it's one of the key components in this game, because when you're riding around a horse and you see these beautiful landscapes, you can really see where we can go as gaming in the future. Naughty Dog has always been extremely well done when it comes to attention to detail. It's one of the key components. It's always made them one of the top developers in the industry. And with The Last of Us Part 2, you see that they've clearly raised the bar once again in attention to detail. One of the key components that Naughty Dog has definitely done here is they raised the bar what it's like to play one of their games. What do I mean by this? Let's go into it. The controls feel fluent. There's not really any issues I have with the controls. Everything functions the way it should. There's some key things that they have done to make this way better than the original Last of Us. One of the biggest things I did not like about the original Last of Us was the melee combat. I felt like it was lacking, and I felt like it was boring at a lot of times. And sometimes, especially if you're playing on the highest difficulties, it would be inconsistent. But that is not the case with The Last of Us Part 2. One of the biggest changes that Naughty Dog has put into this game is a dodge button. And I know what you guys are saying. Addict, how could a dodge button change so much about the mechanics in Last of Us Part 2? It changes the entire game, really. A lot of the times in the original Last of Us, if there was more than one person, even two people, I had a hard time taking out all of them, especially if I had no ammo. But in this game, that is not the case. When multiple enemies come on me, I'm able to effectively fight both of them. When one swings on me, I can dodge to the left and then hit the one on the right. And when the one on the right swings on me, I can dodge to the right and swing and hit the one on the left. There'll be times in The Last of Us Part 2 that you have to effectively use this system because they take all the guns away from you, and it's literally a you versus him, one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat, and who the winner comes out alive. But I like combat just as much as the other guy. But one of the other key foundations Last of Us was always built on was stealth. The ability to silently take out multiple people in a structure so you're not outnumbered. One of the biggest features that they put in Last of Us Part 2 to enhance stealth in this game is the ability to prone. It is by far the most effective new feature that they've put in this game to be able to effectively stealth without no one seeing you. There'll be scenarios where you can't get to people. You can't get them from your standard go to cover until you're able to approach on them. So sometimes you have to go to cover and then completely go prone and then crawl through tall grass to get as close to them as possible. That way when they're right up on top of you, you can stand up really fast, grab him in a headlock, and able to silence him before he can tell everyone else that you're present. This comboed with silenced pistols means you can have a very effective stealth gameplay in this game. And that's one of the key components I love in these type of games, is the ability to be diverse as possible. And sure, you can easily go through here and shoot your way out of everything, or you can stealth and plan your attacks and take out everybody without anyone knowing that you're even present. But whatever enhancement that they have put into this game to make stealth even more effective, more ways of doing things, they actually put a lot of other stuff to counter these features they've put in this game. One of the biggest things that Naughty Dog has implemented into this game is they have gave the enemy dogs. These dogs will search around the battlefield if you are detected, or even they think that you're there, and they will smell you out and they will follow your scent back to the origins of where you're at. So there was a lot of times where I'm in some tall grass and I think I'm fine, I think I'm good, and I look around and I see a dog right up on me about to come at me because he is following my scent, and I either A, have to kill that dog really fast, which 9 times out of 10 didn't work because he has someone else that has a leash on him, so it wouldn't really be effective for me to do that, or B, which is most of the time I had to run and hope I'm able to get enough distance between me and that dog where I can effectively take that dog out and get back to killing the owner that it was attached to. Another one of the huge improvements that Naughty Dog has made to The Last of Us Part 2 is the AI themselves. In the original Last of Us, the AI didn't feel needed. They didn't feel important. They felt like just an obstacle stopping you from getting point A to point B. But in Last of Us Part 2, they actually took a different twist. It seemed like every group had individual names for every AI that you were hunting down. So for instance, when you would kill an AI, someone would come across that dead body and they would scream some random name like, "Someone's killed Mason, someone's here, we need to find them, Mason is dead." And not only would they react if they saw the dead body there, they would actually react if you killed them in front of their allies. Doing it this way felt like the enemies have a life outside the game. They made it seem like these people work with each other every day and know each other personally. When you kill one of them, the rest seem to react like they become more aggressive and they become reckless because they are upset that you just killed one of their friends. They are overwhelmed with grief now. Now, I might have read too much into this and maybe it doesn't work like this, but to me it did feel like sometimes their behavior would change when you would kill the enemies in front of them. Now, just like stealth is an option in this game, going in guns blazing is definitely an option. The guns felt great to me and really responsive. You can shoot from a prone position for a more accurate shot, or you can shoot on the run for a less effective shot but hope to do enough damage to kill that enemy. A huge thing I noticed about Last of Us Part 2 is how you receive damage. A lot of these type of games, I can run through everything, I can get shot multiple times, and as long as I connect my fist or my melee weapon or my knife to that person, I'm fine. But that is not the case for this game. When you get shot on Last of Us Part 2, you get shot. You come to a complete stop, and sometimes, depending on what that person shot you with, you'll fall down. They have such amazing detail in this game that when you actually get shot with an arrow, you have to remove that arrow from your body or you consistently take damage until you do so. It's little details like this that made me feel immersed into this game, that made me feel like I was part of this universe, and that is one of the key components that make The Last of Us Part 2 so great. Now let's talk about the story for a few minutes. First off, we're not going to be covering much of the story in this review. This is because The Last of Us Part 2 is heavily revolved around its story, and I don't want to spoil any of the game to anyone watching this review. The story was not bad when I finished the game, and I felt satisfied. However, I felt like the execution of the story is where the game lacked to me. Some events did not make sense from someone who enjoyed and completed the original Last of Us. Characters that established and how they would react to situations did not seem true to their Last of Us counterpart. It felt like a new character entirely. Some could say that since it's been so many years between the games that much time has changed them as a person, and that would make sense. But however, they live in a very dark world, and changing how they think this drastically would almost mean a 0 chance of survival. So I don't think that's the case. Now, I would love to go more into this, but I really can't because like I said, I do not want to spoil anything for anyone, so we're going to go ahead and leave it at that. Regardless how I feel about the story, I can't overlook everything else. The gameplay to this game in this particular genre, in my opinion, is second to none. The graphics, even on the PlayStation Slim, is phenomenal and it looks like the best game that's ever been on console. And coupled with the amazing atmosphere that this game presents, that it makes you feel like you're part of this universe. I can't help but to want to give the story a pass. It's one of the biggest dilemmas that I've ever had reviewing because the story is always a very key component to me when it comes to a video game. So the question is does the gameplay make up for the lack of story to me? And to be honest with you guys, I believe it does. The story in this game might be confusing sometimes, and you know, that doesn't take away from the fact that the gameplay is just on another level. This is the type of gameplay, the type of attention to detail, and the type of atmosphere that I truly want for next gen. I want this type of game in every game. Obviously, that is not the case because Naughty Dog is one of the top developers in the industry. But I do think this game's worth $60. I do think this is one of the prime examples that you need a PlayStation for, and it is a fantastic way to end the generation for the Sony platform. But anyway, you guys, tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you think that this is definitely like the generation of games, like this is the game of the generation. Put that in the comment section below. Tell me your gripes on it. Now try to keep it spoiler free down there if you guys don't mind. But you know, that was my review on The Last of Us Part 2. Story's average, maybe a little bit below average. Gameplay is some of the best, if not the best, in the industry. And the atmosphere is one of a kind. But this is Gaming Addict. That's my review on The Last of Us Part 2. I'm out of here. Peace.